Greetings, my lovelies. This is that creepy bald guy. Yeah, I may as well resurrect this moniker. And welcome to my review of Ghostbusters, the 2016 reboot of the 1984 classic. And I was against this project from the very beginning because it has an all-female cast, and girls are gross, and they have cooties. Oh wait, sorry, I forgot. I'm not a sexist asshole who spends all of his time whining about shit on the internet. I'm too busy having a life, which admittedly primarily entails of me watching shit so I can whine about it on the internet. God, what have I been doing with my life? Actually, I was for a reboot of the Ghostbusters franchise, as I think there is a lot of story potential that the first two movies never had the opportunity to explore, and I don't believe the original is untouchable, as great as it is. The all-female cast actually added to my excitement, as it showed the studio was willing to take some risks and not just rehash the past. Sure, I did my best to ignore the fact that I am not a fan of the majority, any of these ladies, whom I dub annoying, annoyinger, annoyingest, hunky. Did I just fucking say that out loud? But then the trailer was released, and wow, the movie looked really unapologetically shitty. And that was one of the kinder reactions to the trailer. It looked so bad that I found myself wondering if this disastrous marketing campaign was intentional, so that reviewers would be pleasantly surprised when the final product wasn't equally disastrous, which might lead to them converting those feelings of happiness into an overreaction of positivity, making an otherwise average flick look good. Oh, did I just spoil my feelings? Sorry about that. But I thought Ghostbusters 2016 was fine. It's not really worth the hate, but it's not really worth its existence either. The reboot offers a steady stream of chuckles mixed in with a few good laughs and is worth experiencing on some level, preferably as a rental. But even though it's only been a day since I watched it, I can't quote any of the lines, and I have to go on an epic quest within my memory just to recall any of the funny situations or gags. The first thing that comes to mind when I think of this film's sense of humor, besides the fact that it is pretty consistently amusing, is that a lot of these gags go on way too long. And I think the big problem here is that the director gave his cast too much creative freedom to ad-lib. And in my opinion, ad-libbing only works in small doses. You don't have to agree with me. But there are times when the actresses would go on these long random tangents that might start off funny, but gradually lose their impact and then start to become kind of frustrating. I will concede that the trailers, particularly the infamous one, are poor representations of the film itself. Ghostbusters 2016 is nowhere near as noisy or lowbrow as the marketing campaign suggests, even if it has its moments. I will also concede that the cast has pretty solid chemistry, and I was surprised with how little they annoyed me, even if there were no breakthrough performances, at least from my perspective. McCarthy and Wig restrain themselves, and when one of their gags fail, I was more indifferent than irritated. Leslie Jones doesn't spend the entire movie yelling, and is arguably even the most endearing of the group, and Kate McKinnon, okay, she did kind of annoy me, but not that much. And she is the only one with a consistent characterization, as tension-murdering as it is. The first Ghostbusters did a great job at defining the characters' personalities as individuals, while this reboot makes them relatively interchangeable. Sometimes Kristen Wiig is the straight person, reacting to the craziness of those around her. Other times McCarthy will fill this role, while Wiig suddenly becomes the crazy one. Sometimes Leslie Jones is the voice of reason, other times not. Their personalities are constantly changing based around the joke the movie wants to tell at that time. I guess Wiig has the closest thing to a character arc, but it really feels underdeveloped, vague in certain areas, and probably was mostly left on the editing room floor. Although if that's true, I can't fault the filmmakers too much because their movie is already way too long, losing a lot of momentum during the middle block. Now, I was really concerned about the quality of the special effects based on the trailers, but the CGI seemed better in the finished product. It's still too polished for my tastes, and the ghost designs were pretty uninspired. Compare this to, this. But the final antagonist was a neat idea, and there were still some really cool visuals. I swear actual miniatures were being used and destroyed during the finale, and if they didn't build a model city, then I'll still praise the filmmakers for creating the illusion of practical effects. I respect that Paul Feig was really trying to build tension, and sometimes it works, and that was a major part of the appeal of the original. But the cast really undermines his valiant efforts. They can never seem to take any of these situations seriously, so we can't either. In the original Ghostbusters, you believed that the actors believed in their nonsensical scientific jargon, and it was other people's reactions to this sincerity that provided a lot of the humor. Here, it just seems phony, stiff, and awkward whenever Wig or McCarthy try it, because they lack the conviction that Aykroyd and Ramis had. But during a lot of the so-called scarier scenes, they're still mugging for the camera, saying goofy things, and acting like they're not really in peril, deflating any sense of danger. Even though the original never lost its sense of humor either, it was presented through character quirks, or maybe even coping mechanisms. It made sense for this character to say this thing during this situation. The actors still looked nervous when confronting Gozer or the Marshmallow Man, so that made those scenes a lot more intense and creepy, whereas this cast ensured that you never forgot you were watching a comedy, so had no reason to fear for them. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, it's just that it's hard to watch this and not make comparisons to the original. Why? Well, this reboot really does not want you to forget that it is a reboot. It relies a lot on referencing the original, particularly with the very gratuitous cameos. Besides not being particularly funny, it felt like in the majority of these cases, the actors from the original agreed to appear in this one like at the very last moment, long after the script was written, because they didn't fit into the narrative and stood out as distracting, probably confusing those who are not familiar with the original. And their only purpose is for the fan service. And if you want to stand on your own two legs, don't use nostalgia as a crutch. All that makes me want to do is now compare and contrast you to the original, and the original is just so much of a better movie. I know I sound kind of negative, but I made the mistake of watching Ghostbusters 1 and 2 shortly before going to the theaters for this, and I just personally prefer the dry, rapid-fire comedy of the original, and even the sequel's broader, more family-friendly, ignoring certain implications of man-on-slime sex. God, kids' movies were weird back then. Style of humor. Those movies gave much fuller experiences with better characters, spookier encounters, and with the original being one of those movies that you could watch over and over again and notice something new every time. I feel like the reboot is a one-and-done deal, even if it is worth the one as a rental. If Ghostbusters was an 8.5 out of 10 and Ghostbusters 2 a 6.5 out of 10, this would be a 5.5 out of 10. I was very indifferent to it, even though it was easy to tolerate. But the comedy is chaotic, unpredictable, and subjective, so you may have a more positive or negative reaction to its content than I did. So sorry, haters. The movie wasn't bad enough to be worth the vitriol you have given it. What's your issue with an all-female cast anyway? Are you the same people bitching about black guys occasionally scoring the leading roles in films too? Seriously, it's shocking how horrible our society is. I mean, bitch at the quality of the trailer. And hell, if you watch the movie and you hate it, I won't blame you either, but find better reasons to whine about something. Like how they're making another Puppet Master movie, and I'm gonna watch it, even though I've seen all the other films, and I watched them all within a span of a single month. And that was like the darkest period of my life because they were so fucking terrible. What have I done with my life? What have I done? I did not do a written review of this, but I have done more mini reviews of Ghostbusters 1 and 2 and the entire Missing in Action trilogy starring Chuck the Norris. So please read all of those. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Please comment and let me know what you think on the review and the movie itself, and I shall see you guys later.